welcome to Raccoon Tale. I hope you enjoy your time here and find peace in the stories we tell. If you liked the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. I used to be the golden hand in the pig, rearing village at the pig farm. One careless slip and fall later, I transmigrated into Nanny Liu in the depths of the rear palace, with a frail newborn baby stuffed right into my arms. This wretched bastard spawn, born prematurely to Consort Jing, wouldn't survive anyway. Just dig a hole somewhere and bury it. Her maternal family had plotted a rebellion, so the entire clan was tossed into the imperial dungeon, daring to carry the emperor's child before the empress herself. That was exactly the fate they deserved. I stared down at the scrawny, skin and bones infant in my arms, barely clinging to life with only the faintest breaths left. Suddenly, dense lines of comments flooded my vision. The critical plot point has arrived. Consort Jing's family was framed by the empress and thrown into prison. The male lead, currently stationed at the border, will return to the capital to rescue her and completely turn the tables. The female lead saves the little prince who was nearly buried alive, rising from a lowly palace made sweeping the courtyard straight to the heavens in one leap. Piles of gold and silver filling her coffers, bestowed the title of Commandery Princess, and doted on to the skies by the male lead general. As for this vicious nanny, she'll be hunted down without mercy and ultimately minced into meat paste by the male lead. My whole body shook. I immediately activated my secret pig rearing manual. No piglet had ever died under Nanny Liu's watch. You wouldn't be an exception either. This wasn't me bragging. At pig rearing, I truly had a heavenly gift. After 10 years rolling around in the pig farm, the pigs I'd raised could circle Lin City twice over. No matter how scrawny or sickly the piglet, once it passed through my hands, I guaranteed it would grow fat and sleek, ready for market in 3 months. At 30 years old, the farm director had awarded me the glorious title of Outstanding Breeder, complete with a 200 raise, a 20,000 yuan bonus, and even an electric 3-wheeled scooter. That was the most glorious moment of my life. The director had asked me to say a few words. Standing before the microphone, I got so excited I missed a step. When I opened my eyes again, I had already transmigrated right into Nanny Liu, the cleaner stuck in the cold palace. Shock, pain, regret, and 1,000 emotions tangled together until they finally burst out as a miserable wail. My little piglets. My 20,000 yuan reward. And my electric tricycle too. I cried and wailed the whole night through until I finally accepted the cruel reality that there was no going back. Damn it all, my entire lifetime of pig rearing expertise had nowhere to shine. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the cold palace. The senior palace maid beside the empress led a whole crowd of people in a boisterous rush. Without a word, she shoved a swaddled bundle straight into my hands. Nanny Liu, this is the bastard spawn born prematurely to Consort Jing. You take care of it. I froze. Raising Consort Jing's child here in the cold palace. This didn't feel right at all. The senior palace maid smiled faintly, her voice dripping with utter indifference. Consort Jing plotted rebellion. Her entire family has already been thrown into the imperial dungeon and will be executed by beheading at the end of the month. This wretched child, whether it lives or dies doesn't matter. Who told her not to know her place? Daring to carry the emperor's child before the empress herself. If she was pregnant, she couldn't give birth properly, and even if she did, she couldn't raise it. Daring to compete for favor with the empress. This is exactly the end she deserves. With that, they dumped the baby and left. The noisy rumors swirled in the wind, all pouring into my ears. Consort Jing had only been pregnant for 7 months when she heard the news of her family's rebellion plot. In her panic, she gave birth prematurely, blood soaking the entire bed. The newborn was immediately plunged into cold water. Consort Jing went mad, charging forward covered in blood to snatch it back. But she couldn't even touch the hem of its clothes. Though this bastard spawn hadn't drowned, it now had a raging fever and couldn't even suckle milk. I figured it would breathe its last tonight. I lifted the swaddle for a look. The baby was limp and tiny, scrawny as a little monkey, its whole body filthy and grimy. Its little face, smaller than my palm, was flushed red and burning hot. Only its chest rose and fell faintly and weakly, proving it was still alive, but not for much longer. I sighed, already planning to find a nice spot to dig a hole and bury it. The moment I set the swaddle down, a dense block of text flashed before my eyes. It's here, it's here. The critical plot point where the cold-faced general falls for the courtyard sweeping maid. Consort Jing's family was framed by the empress and imprisoned. The male lead at the border will return to the capital to rescue her and turn the tables. The female lead saves the little prince who was almost buried alive, leaping from a lowly sweeping maid to the skies in one step. Thousands of taels of silver reward, bestowed commandery princess, doted on endlessly by the male lead general. As for this vicious nanny, she'll be pursued relentlessly and finally minced into meat paste by the male lead. I jolted upright, my whole body trembling. I immediately hugged the swaddled bundle tight and kicked the shovel flying. I am Nanny Lu, the goddess of animal husbandry. No piglet has ever died in my hands, and you won't be the exception either. Drawing on years of experience caring for piglets, just one touch told me this little one had a fever over 39 degrees. It needed cooling down right away. I pulled out the piglet care manual I always carried with me. When a piglet has a fever over 39 degrees, immediately use warm water to wipe its ears, neck, armpits, groin, and limbs. Without hesitation, I stripped off the swaddle and placed the baby into a basin of warm water. Its body visibly relaxed, and its tiny mouth unconsciously suckled. That was the sign of hunger. A piglet on a month old needed feeding every 2 hours. From what the palace maid had said, this little one hadn't had milk in a long time. It must be starving. I had to feed it right away. I suddenly remembered that in the imperial pantry next door, they kept 2 nanny goats to provide goat's milk for the noble ladies. Urgent matters first. I fished the baby out, dried it off, wrapped it snugly, hugged it close to my chest, and sneaked along the wall toward the imperial pantry. It was midday, and the animal pens were completely unattended, so I easily approached the 2 nanny goats. I bowed slightly in a perfunctory greeting and muttered, "Excuse me, lend me some food." Then I tucked the baby against the goat's belly. "Eat up." The little one didn't open its mouth at all and even squinted at me as if looking down on me. "Huh. You're pickier than a pig." No choice then. I found a bowl and milked it myself. The goat started struggling. "Baba, just a little milk, come on." I tied its legs with my belt and milked with both hands until they nearly sparked from the friction. By the time I returned to the cold palace, a miserable wail echoed from the imperial pantry next door. "Aha, ahwa of mine. Which little beast dared to humiliate you like that?" The boiled goat's milk was finally fed to the baby. It must have been starving, because it gulped down half the bowl in one go, its little belly rounding out nicely, before sinking into a deep sleep. I watched over it until midnight, when its body temperature spiked hot again. The comments flared up densely once more before my eyes. Why is the little prince still in the hands of that vicious nanny? The female lead has been sweeping outside the cold palace until her broom handle is worn down. If the female lead doesn't pick up the little prince, she can't return. And if that nanny doesn't discard him, the female lead won't get to pick him up. Oh heavens, is this a plot hole? Don't panic. The male lead is on his way. Even if he sees the little prince being raised by the villainous nanny with an unrelenting fever, he'll still mince her up. Haha, is the female lead's cheat ability that easy to steal? A baby this small, the villainous nanny can't possibly take good care of it. Just sit back and wait for the male lead to chop her. Himph, doubting my pig, rearing expertise, what a joke. Lowering a fever is just a basic skill for Nanny Lu. That night, I grabbed a bucket of cold water and sneaked over to the imperial pantry, targeting Nanny Zhang's bed. I dumped the entire bucket through the window. Ah! Nanny Zhang bolted upright, screaming. "Who is it? Who?" I grabbed the bucket and dumped it 2 more times, even tearing off the window paper for good measure. The next morning, Nanny Zhang really came down with a fever. She rushed to the imperial physician's hall for medicine. The moment she returned and let her guard down, the medicine packet ended up neatly in my hands. "Thanks for the sponsorship, Nanny Zhang." I examined the medicine, halved the dose, then halved it again, mixed it into the goat's milk and fed it to the little one. It drank it all obediently in big gulps. After a day of this, its body finally cooled down. From then on, raising it became much smoother. Fresh goat's milk 8 times a day, and the little one's whole body puffed up like a balloon, turning fair and chubby. I had to admit, this little prince was being raised impeccably. Take that, female lead. Let's see you raise him this well. In the original story, the female lead had only barely kept the little prince alive, so he grew up frail and sickly. With this kind of care, the little prince could one day punch a pig to death with a single fist. I felt incredibly smug inside. See, there was no child in this world that Nanny Lu couldn't fatten up. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. The baby before me grew rounder by the day, and my heart softened into mush. If Consort Jing could see him so fair and plump like this, she could probably rest easy, right? I pinched his chubby cheeks, they felt so soft and bouncy. His tiny hand flailed and suddenly grabbed my finger. He opened his toothless mouth in a smile at me, eyes squinting into happy slits. While I was playing with him, comments suddenly appeared. Not good. The Empress is leading people here. Consort Jing's rebellion case is about to be overturned. The Empress couldn't kill her, so now she wants to strike first by killing her child, then pin the blame on the villainous Nanny. The Empress rids herself of a thorn in her side. Consort Jing goes mad from losing her child. The male lead avenges his sister, and still minces the villainous into meat paste, twice over. Damn it, can't they change the death method? Chaotic footsteps sounded outside the cold palace. I sprang up like an arrow, wrapped the baby tightly, and stuffed him into the pre-dug hole in the corner of the room. Be good. Bad guys are coming, so don't make a sound, okay? The baby didn't understand a thing but just smiled at me with his open mouth. My heart suddenly ached. I'd raised him for half a month. Even a piglet would develop feelings, let alone a human. I carefully covered the hole and rushed outside. The cold palace knelt in welcome. A pair of bright yellow embroidered shoes stopped right in front of me. The senior palace maid spoke up. That wretched spawn, is it dead yet? Dead. The senior palace maid raised her voice. The Empress commands even if dead, we must see the corpse. Buried where? I gritted my teeth. I didn't bury it, I cremated it. The baby was too small, even the bones burned to ash. A soft chuckle sounded above my head. The senior palace maid pinched my chin, lifting my face. What met my eyes were the Empress's long, narrow phoenix eyes, filled only with cold disdain, as if looking down at an ant. She parted her red lips slightly. Do you know what happens to those who deceive their superiors and commit treason? My whole body trembled. That was the fear of death enveloping me. But thinking of the baby I'd raised to be so fair and plump, I stubbornly replied. This slave doesn't dare to lie. The Empress coldly scanned the cold palace. Search it. Eunuchs and palace maids swarmed in, surrounding the cold palace and searching every single inch. Cold sweat poured down my back in layers. My hand unconsciously gripped the dagger hidden in my sleeve. Damn it, if the little one is found, I'm definitely done for. If it's death either way, before I die, I'll drag this child, stealing thief with me. No one can snatch a piglet from Nanny Lou's hands. Not even you. As I watched the eunuch flip to the corner where I'd hidden the baby, parting the weeds to reveal the hole clearly, I closed my eyes and clenched my teeth, gathering all my strength. Just as I was about to strike, the eunuch shouted loudly, "Nothing here, nothing." I suddenly relaxed, my whole body turning iced, cold as I watched them. They had turned the entire cold palace upside down but found no trace of the child anywhere. The Empress nodded faintly. Consider yourself honest. The whole group turned and left. I slumped to the ground, my mind blank. A moment later I jumped up and rushed to the hole, flipping and searching frantically. Where's my little one? Where's my fair, plump baby that big? A rustling sound came from behind. A figure in black descended lightly onto the floor, holding the familiar swaddled bundle in his arms. The male lead, Murong Xiao, had appeared. Little prince, your uncle has come to save you. Today the little prince will be taken away by the male lead. From now on, no more burdens. He will lead troops to pressure the imperial city and wipe out the entire empress's family. In this rear palace, anyone who ever mistreated the little crown prince will be stabbed clean through 3 times by the male lead. A silver glint flashed toward my neck. I was terrified, every hair on my body standing on end. The cold, sharp blade was already pressed against my throat. An aura of terror emanated from him. The kind that came from wading through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Every word was laced with chilling intent. My nephew was born prematurely and left his mother early, falling into your hands. Who knows how much suffering he's endured. He lifted the edge of the swaddle, revealing a fair. Murong Xiao continued. I heard he had a high fever right after birth. I wonder if it affected his body. The baby let out a loud, clear cry, grabbing Murong Xiao's finger. The wail was deafening, and his grip was surprisingly strong. The comments suddenly fell silent for a moment. The male lead is a bit too picky, isn't he? This baby is actually healthier than a full-term newborn. Male lead, the female lead is still sweeping the courtyard out there. Go look at her, hurry up and look. To the commenter above, give it up, the female lead is out of screen time. Without the female lead, how are we supposed to watch the exciting parts? The male lead has 8-pack abs and broad shoulders. Wouldn't it be a waste? That guy with the duck avatar up there is only thinking about the paid content. Face the wall already and let me watch first. My gaze involuntarily drifted down to Murong Xiao's lower abdomen. The tight night walking clothes outlined his long, powerful legs, narrow waist, and rippling abs. Truly a man with outstanding assets. The sword at my neck suddenly grew colder, yanking my lustful thoughts back to reality. The blade was still pressed to my throat, so I immediately stood straight, just wanting to send this god of death on his way, as fast as possible. Since you're his family, take him and go quickly. Murong Xiao sheathed his sword, gave a faint nod, and pulled a jade pendant from his chest, offering it to me. Thank you for your care. I waved it off. No need for pleasantries. The Murong family's heirloom jade pendant. Something similar had once been auctioned for 200 million in the modern world. In ancient times, it could easily be traded for thousands of taels of gold. Financial freedom achieved. Villainous, I advise you not to be ungrateful. My hand shot out and snatched the jade pendant, stuffing it straight into my inner clothes. 10 years at the pig farm and I only got a 200 raise. Half a month with this little one and I scored 200 million. The general really was generous. Murong Xiao paused for a second, his ears turning slightly red. He hugged the baby and turned to leave. The moment he stepped out the door, the previously quiet baby suddenly let out an ear-piercing wail that echoed through the entire rear palace. Murong Xiao, who had been so dashing a second ago, now stood frozen stiff, holding the baby like a live bomb. He hesitated, then carefully placed the little one back into my arms. The baby instantly stopped crying, his tear-streaked face breaking into a smile at me. I handed the baby back to Murong Xiao. The moment he touched the child, the little mouth twisted and opened wide, ready to bawl. Murong Xiao stayed silent for a long while. It seems the child can't bear to leave you. I'll trouble you to look after him a few more days. There will be a heavy reward. Heavy reward. I thumped my chest boldly. As long as the money arrives, I'll run like a nuclear-powered horse and guarantee I'll raise your little one fair and beautiful. If you leave the child with me, where will you go? I'll stay with you. The moment the words left his mouth, Murong Xiao lifted his robe and leaped onto the beam above. I looked up at the beam, then down at the bed right beneath it. A strong, strapping man was going to sleep on the beam above my bed. That night I slept fitfully. Every time I closed my eyes, the senior palace maid's meaningful look before she left flashed in my mind. Like she was toying with prey yet also looking down on an ant. I tossed and turned until midnight, when a cold wind blew through the window, startling me awake. Something was wrong. I had definitely closed the window before bed. In an instant I was fully alert. The moment I opened my eyes, a dagger hovered right in front of my face. A fierce-looking eunuch was about to drive it down. I screamed and instinctively hugged the baby tight to my chest to shield him. A soft groan sounded behind me, but the expected pain never came. When I opened my eyes again, the eunuch had been kicked to the ground by Murong Xiao, his legs twisted at a grotesque angle. Murong Xiao's sword swept across, and the eunuch's throat tore open instantly. Blood sprayed like a fountain. Speak. Who sent you? The eunuch, terrified by his own blood, lost his soul. It was the Empress. I suddenly understood. No wonder. The Empress wanted to pin the blame on me for certain. Killing me to silence any witness was the safest way. My hands shook violently as I clutched the blanket. It felt like hidden hands lurked everywhere in the darkness outside, every blade aimed straight at me. Before I could react, a large hand covered my eyes. A dull thud followed, and the eunuch's voice vanished completely. When I opened my eyes again, the room had been cleaned spotless. Only faint watermarks remained on the floor, and the faint scent of blood in the air reminded me that the eunuch had died, right beside me. My whole body went rigid. I didn't dare close my eyes, afraid a blade would strike the moment I did. I didn't dare turn, afraid I'd face that dead man's face. Murong Xiao leaped back onto the beam. Seeing me dazed, he tried to comfort me. He's really dead. Don't worry. There will be a few more waves tonight, but with me guarding you, sleep peacefully. I'll handle the bodies cleanly afterward. The comfort was great. Next time, please don't comfort me again. I stubbornly looked up at the beam. General, could you sleep on my bed instead? With you close by, I'd feel safe. The comments instantly exploded. Has the nanny gone mad? The male lead is famous for being ice cold. In the original story, the female lead needed more than 3 chapters just to get near him. Only the female lead is allowed close. Any other woman who dares climb into his bed gets chopped by the male lead. The Villainous is literally courting death. She avoided being minced only to stick her head into the chopping block herself. The male lead's hand is already on his sword hilt. Right after that, Murong Xiao descended lightly. I've removed my sword. He lay down beside me, still fully clothed. Question marks, question marks, question marks, question marks, question marks. Sleep. Murong Xiao spoke. Don't be afraid. The next morning I woke up in his arms. My leg was draped over his long legs, my hand clutching his rising and falling abs. I pressed lightly, firm yet springy and soft. Youth really is wonderful. Murong Xiao's face remained unchanged. He stood, fastened his sword at his waist, and vanished from the cold palace in a few steps. When he returned, he was leading a goat. Right afterward, a miserable wail rang out again from the imperial pantry next door. Ah, aha of mine, which little beast stole my aha? Murong Xiao handed the goat to me. Last night there were 5 waves of attackers. The frequency is this high, it seems the Empress has lost all patience. I need to go check on Consort Jing's palace to make sure my sister is safe. I grabbed his belt, tears pouring down. Will you come back tonight? Murong Xiao's ears turned slightly red. You want me to come back? What a needless question. With a bodyguard this huge, of course I wanted him back. Without you, I'm definitely dead. Seeing me nod frantically, he turned his face away. I'll return. I watched his back disappear, tears brimming as I waved. General, please don't die out there, okay? The pile of gold in my heart hadn't even warmed up yet. Don't leave me with money I can't spend. This plot development seems a bit off. Nanny, you've already stolen the female lead's money. Now you want to steal her man too. Relax, upstairs. Consort Jing's heart veins are damaged, she won't live long. Once Consort Jing dies, the male lead will enter full revenge mode. His eyes will only see slaughter. Where will he have time for romance? Consort Jing's heart veins were damaged and she wouldn't live long. I instinctively looked down at the baby in my arms. He slept soundly, innocently unaware that he was about to lose the person who loved him most in the world. A sour ache rose in my chest. A child without a mother truly suffered too much. When I was 5, my own mother died right before my eyes. Before she closed her eyes, she used her last bit of strength to grip my father's hand and force him to swear he would treat me well for the rest of his life. My father wept as he swore a blood oath that I was his only child and he would love me with his whole life. But 5 years later, he brought home another woman. In front of him she was gentle and kind to me, but behind his back she cursed me as a debt collector. Why didn't you die with your mother? I once cried and begged my father to marry someone else. He slapped me and scolded me for being ungrateful. Someone was willing to care for me and I still picky. So they married. Half a year later that woman got pregnant, and I became the extra. My father tossed me to my grandmother. She was old, and by the time I turned 12 she had passed away. That woman wouldn't let me back into the house. She said I was 12, old enough to fend for myself. My father listened to her and threw me 500 yuan, telling me not to bother him if anything happened. I became a child who still had a living father but no home to return to. Only then did I understand. Once a mother was gone, oaths vanished and love could change in the blink of an eye. Therefore, Consort Jing absolutely could not die. As dusk fell, Murong Xiao returned. That steel-hearted man now had bloodshot eyes, his face rigidly suppressing the utmost pain. On his back he carried Consort Jing, dressed in simple cloth clothes, a thin silver hairpin, her complexion as pale as gold paper. Ah Xiao, must you keep putting on this act with me? Consort Jing said. The baby is already dead. One cremation and nothing remains. Let me go. Since the moment he was born, I haven't even held him once. Alone in the afterlife, he must be so cold. A single tear rolled from the corner of Consort Jing's eye and splashed hard onto the ground. The veins on Murong Xiao's neck bulged as he fought to keep his emotions in check. His voice came out low and heavy. He's not dead. The baby has been raised very well. He's fair and plump now. And you won't die either. Consort Jing gave a faint smile, like a wilted flower still burning in the dark night. Ah Xiao, your lies sound so comforting. I pushed the door open and stepped inside, cradling the baby as I looked toward the two of them. This was the first time I had ever seen Murong Xiao wear such an expression. The man who could kill without blinking was now slumped on the floor, clumsy and frantic as he held his dying sister in his arms. Consort Jing weakly patted him. Ah Xiao, don't let hatred swallow you whole. My Ah Xiao still has the rest of his life ahead. He should live in peace and joy, carefree and happy. I'll go on ahead. I have to keep your nephew company. The very next second, the fair, chubby little boy was pressed into her arms. The baby, now strong after a full month, kicked hard with one tiny leg straight into his dying mother's chest, startling her back to alertness. Consort Jing froze, staring at the child in her embrace. Her breathing grew rapid, and 2 spots of color bloomed on her deathly pale face. She could hardly believe it, yet the familiar swaddle was stitched thread by her own hands. I spoke firmly. Do you want your own son to die? Wait until he grows up and tell him yourself. Unfortunately, the imperial physicians had already taken Consort Jing's pulse. Not even the gods could save her now. This round is definitely a dead end. The male lead goes mad, leads troops to pressure the imperial city, blood flows like rivers, trampling countless corpses. He installs the little prince as crown prince. Even though the male lead becomes regent, the world still condemns him as cruel and tyrannical. Sigh. Consort Jing's death is the spark that sets the male lead on his path of slaughter. The comments exploded again. Consort Jing struggled to sit up and carefully cradled the little one. Is this really my child? He was plunged into cold water the moment he was born, burning with fever and no one to care for him. Yet he still survived. I thumped my chest proudly. With me around, there's no child I can't fatten up. Consort Jing's fingers gently traced the baby's tiny face. She smiled. That's right, these eyes look just like mine. A woman who had been resolved to die suddenly found a spark of strength. She laboriously pulled out a seal token. This consort doesn't know how to repay you for saving my life. Inside this seal is my entire dowry. I give it all to Nanny Lu. As for the child, please raise him to adulthood for me. I don't have much time left. Before I die, even if I have to use every last ounce of strength, I will drag the Empress down to the afterlife with me. Nice. Blood siblings with the male lead after all. Their way of doing things is exactly the same. I accepted the seal but refused the child. I'll take the money, but you raise your own son. Consort Jing was stunned. But I have at most 3 months left. Only 3 months to live. Joking, right? In front of Nanny Lu, the golden hand pig breeder. No sow has ever died after giving birth. I quickly opened the postpartum sow care manual I always carried and made my judgment. Consort Jing had been terrified before birth, lost too much blood during delivery, then had her child stolen right after, causing extreme grief. All of it led to severe depletion of her vital energy and blood, plus a death wish that created this terminal situation. Nursing her back was actually simple. I asked Consort Jing, "Are you afraid of getting fat?" She shook her head. I never had feelings for the emperor anyway. Appearance means nothing to me now, so that makes it easy. I ordered Xiao to set up a warm pavilion inside the cold palace. Every ingredient was prepared exactly according to my menu. 1/2 pound of meat, 1 pound of milk, and unlimited fresh vegetables every day. Thick, 5-ingredient restorative soup, drink it like water. Ginseng and bird's nest stir, fried dishes flowed like a river. Hungry, snack, overate. That problem doesn't exist. Eat, then walk to digest, eat again. At least 20,000 steps a day until your soles nearly spark from the friction. In the evening, add acupuncture, massage, and tuck the soft, fragrant baby into bed with her. A complete routine. She gained 1 pound every day and a full size every 10 days. Consort Jing, who had looked like yellow paper before, was now plump and rosy-cheeked under my care. Xiao brought a senior physician for a re-examination. The moment the doctor finished taking her pulse, he nearly yanked out his own beard in shock. Consort Jing's constitution was stronger than a grown man's. Delighted, Consort Jing immediately sent word to her family, who had just been released. From now on, the entire Murong clan would treat Nanny Lu as their master. Xiao's eyes shone brightly when he looked at me. That night, when he came to warm the bed again, he said, "You saved my nephew. I reward you with 1,000 taels of gold. You saved my sister. As long as I have it, you can have anything you want." Staring at his rippling abs, I blushed shamelessly. Anything. Xiao closed his eyes as if resigned. I gathered all my courage. "Then you can sleep on the beam tonight. It's too crowded down here." Laughing to death, the male lead summoned every ounce of courage to offer himself, only to be heartlessly rejected by the nanny. "Nanny, there's not a single man in your heart. Making money is your true god. Xiao, so my only use is to be human shield for you." Upstairs hit the bullseye. The male lead is about to cry. In the end, Murong Xiao never returned to the beam. He was angry, turned his back, and didn't speak a single word all night. The next morning, before dawn, he left. This time I waited for his return. But what came instead were the emperor and the empress. The rebellion case against consort Jing's family had been thoroughly investigated. It truly was a wrongful accusation, and every single clue pointed straight at the empress. To preserve the imperial family's dignity, the emperor decided to downplay the matter and personally led the empress to the cold palace to apologize to consort Jing. Their group hadn't even reached the door when the empress's voice drifted in on the wind. It was all this consort's fault. I listened to vile little people's instigation and wrongly accused my dear sister consort Jing. Whatever punishment your majesty wishes to give, beating or flogging, this consort will accept it as atonement to the late little prince. The emperor soothed her gently. You are the mother of the realm. Why go to such extremes? The little prince was simply born with thin fortune and a short life. Consort Jing has always understood the greater good. She won't blame you. With one light sentence, he pinned the label of doomed from birth on the little prince who had nearly been murdered. Consort Jing could no longer suppress her rage. She didn't understand this so-called greater good. Her newborn son had nearly been killed. Her little brother had nearly slaughtered the entire capital because of her. Her whole clan had been thrown into the imperial dungeon and almost executed. One sentence about understanding the greater good and he wanted to erase everything. Dream on. Consort Jing's veins bulged. She lifted her foot and kicked the cold palace gate wide open. Bang! The gate flew off its hinges and slammed down right in front of the emperor. I was stunned, speechless. Was this still the frail woman from a few days ago, who had been on the verge of death? Her combat power was no weaker than her little brother's. The empress let out a frightened cry and threw herself weakly into the emperor's arms, sobbing. The emperor's face darkened. Consort Jing, do not cause a scene. Consort Jing raised her voice. Only now does the empress know how to cry. Isn't it a little too late? Hearing that full, energetic voice, the empress's sobbing body froze. Didn't the imperial physician say consort Jing was about to die? That voice didn't sound like someone on death's door at all. No matter, that wretched spawn is already dead anyway. A concubine without a son can be molded however this consort wishes in the rear palace. Once today's hurdle is passed, there will be plenty of chances later. My dear sister consort Jing has suffered an injustice. It is this palace's fault. Here and now, this consort apologizes to you. This consort is willing to kneel before the ancestral temple and pray for the doomed little prince. The empress swayed as if she had lost all strength. The emperor immediately steadied her. She is pregnant. Do not startle her. A faint flush crossed the empress's face. She gently stroked her still, flat belly, eyes full of smug triumph. Heaven has eyes. She was the one carrying the dragon seed now. Consort Jing's spawn was dead. The child in her belly would be the emperor's only prince. No matter how furious consort Jing was, what could she do? The emperor sighed and stepped forward to take consort Jing's hand. We know you are grieving, but the dead cannot be brought back. The empress made a mistake and should be punished. But she is carrying our only flesh and blood. Could you take a step back for our sake? Once the empress gives birth, we will order the child to address you as mother. Consort Jing lifted her head. Her child is a child, but mine is not. Your majesty is far too biased. The emperor looked sorrowful. The white-haired sending off the black-haired. The pain is indescribable. Bullshit. This dog emperor is the most worthless of all. He fears the Murong clan's military power and wants to destroy them, so he uses the empress as a tool. If it succeeds, he says the Murong clan rebelled. If it fails, he blames the useless empress. Either way, he remains the wise ruler. If Murong Xiao hadn't led troops back in time, consort Jing's entire family would have been slaughtered clean by him long ago. Even if the little prince hadn't died, this dog emperor would have killed him himself. I stole a glance at the emperor. Just one look told me, this pig was done for. Pale complexion, dark circles under his eyes, unsteady steps. From my many years of experience selecting breeding stock, this emperor had been played. And he clearly had no idea. He had definitely been drugged to induce infertility. So who had drugged him? My gaze landed on the empress. One look and I saw the problem. This sow wasn't right either. Every pig farmer knew that sometimes a sow would fake pregnancy. Wanting better food and better treatment, she would pretend to be carrying. Every symptom looked exactly like real pregnancy, but her belly was empty. Nothing but waste. The trick could fool outsiders, but it could never fool Nanny Lu, holder of the Golden Pig breeding badge. One glance and I could confirm, the Empress was definitely faking her pregnancy. Consort Jing, the little prince's short life was unavoidable. We will have more children later. There is no need. Consort Jing flung the Emperor's hand away and laughed coldly. Your Majesty is so magnanimous that you can even swallow the pain of losing a child. But I cannot. Luckily heaven still pities me. My son is still alive and well. I carried the baby forward, head bowed, opened the swaddle, and presented the fair, plump little bundle right in front of the Emperor. A healthy 10-pound 1 month old who would definitely grow over 6 feet tall someday. After showing him to the Emperor, I turned and showed the Empress. Empress, do you like what you see? This fair, chubby little boy, you will never have him. The Empress's face twisted instantly. She clutched her belly and forced a smile. Didn't you say he had already been cremated? I bowed my head and answered. Your Majesty, this slave has poor eyesight and burned the wrong thing by mistake. The Empress ground her teeth. Mistake, very good. The Emperor narrowed his eyes, a calculating gleam flashing in their depths. Consort Jing's child had survived. The Murong clan had guarded the border for generations and controlled 300,000 elite troops. This child had been born carrying such enormous military power. The comments scrolled past in a flood. Nanny run, the dog Emperor is moved. He even killed his own flesh and blood, twice. Total beast. Please don't insult beasts. Beasts are our friends. Why hasn't the male lead finished mustering troops outside the city and come back yet? I'm getting anxious. The Emperor's voice suddenly turned icy as he declared, Nanny Lu is passing off a wild spawn as the Imperial Prince. Execute her at once. The Imperial guards drew their swords and advanced, surrounding me tightly. Consort Jing paled in horror and immediately stepped in front of me. Who dares touch Nanny Lu and my son? Your Majesty, do you intend to kill your own flesh and blood? The Emperor smiled faintly and stretched out his hand, voice leaving no room for argument. Consort Jing, come here. You have been deceived by this nanny. Consort Jing took a step back, shielding me even more firmly behind her. If your Majesty wishes to kill Nanny Lu, please kill this consort first. Killing intent surged in the Emperor's heart. He had originally planned to spare Consort Jing's life, but now it seemed unnecessary. As for the child, how could he allow someone else to sleep peacefully beside his bed? It was only to blame for being born in the wrong womb and carrying Murong blood. Just one child. If one died, the Empress's belly still held another. There were so many women in the rear palace. He could have as many as he wanted. One death was nothing to regret. Consort Jing had been bewitched by sweet words and was indulging this treasonous nanny. The Imperial guards pressed forward with swords drawn. Consort Jing drew her own blade, ready to fight to the death. In that bowstring, taut moment, I lifted the baby high and shouted, Your Majesty, do you wish to end your own bloodline? The Emperor looked up. What do you mean? I risked everything and spoke bluntly. You have been drugged with infertility medicine. Right now you cannot father any more children. The Emperor froze. A flash of joy crossed the Empress's face. Just one dose and it worked this well. Once Consort Jing's spawn was executed, the child in her belly would become the Emperor's only prince. If she bore a son, he would be crown prince. If a daughter, she would be the imperial princess. The throne was already in her grasp. I pointed straight at the Empress. Don't celebrate too soon. You are not pregnant at all. The Empress flew into a rage. Slander and witchcraft. Guards, execute this lowly wench for me. I hid behind Consort Jing, only poking my head out. Your pregnancy is still early, isn't it? You missed your period and felt nauseous, so you assumed you were with child. You didn't even let the imperial physicians take your pulse before rushing to drug the Emperor with infertility medicine to secure the child's position. Am I wrong? The Empress's face distorted. She clutched her belly, shaking with fury. This nanny is talking nonsense. She was clearly pregnant. Her period was half a month late and she had been vomiting. If she wasn't pregnant, then what was she? She wouldn't let this nanny deceive anyone. Imperial guards, she dares curse the dragon seed. Tear her mouth apart for me. Consort Jing swung her sword. The air fell into a deadlock. The Emperor stepped forward, his cold eyes locking onto me. Nanny Lu, you claim we have been rendered infertile. I nodded frantically. According to the timing, Your Majesty was drugged within the last 10 days. Right at that moment, news spread that Consort Jing's child had died, and the Empress suddenly announced she was pregnant. at the exact time your majesty was made infertile. Who benefited the most? The empress's expression changed. She immediately burst into heart-wrenching sobs, the same way she had cried when Consort Jing came to settle scores earlier. Just a few tears had softened the emperor's heart and forced Consort Jing to yield. But this time the emperor did not waver. Only cold ruthlessness remained. Better to kill the innocent than let the guilty escape. He ordered Wyong Palace surrounded and searched inch by inch. The rear palace descended into chaos. The imperial guards moved with lightning speed, sealing the empress's palace exactly the way they had sealed the cold palace a month earlier. They dug 3 feet deep and searched every corner. Every concubine in the palace panicked. Every palace maid and eunuch feared for their lives. In contrast, the cold palace became a rare pocket of peace. Consort Jing sat on a chair cradling the baby, gently rocking as she gazed up at the narrow strip of sky above. My ancestors once said the Murong clan lives as the steel wall of Great Chu and dies as its fortress of blood and bone. The youngest to die was my 4th uncle. At 12 he went to battle for the first time, was captured by the enemy, refused to surrender, and was dragged to death behind a horse right in front of the formation. The late emperor once said our Murong clan possesses unyielding spirit. Every drop of our blood is a blessing to Great Chu. Murong men do not pursue civil posts, they train in martial arts and guard the border generation after generation. Murong women do not seek fame or profit, they only marry into scholarly families or the imperial clan. At 16 I was sent into the palace, gave up all my martial skills, and willingly humbled myself in the rear palace. Yet he still feared me. He wanted to kill my son and wipe out my entire Murong clan. Consort Jing looked at the sky and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Nanny Lu, if not for you, I dare not imagine what would have become of the Murong clan. Today I promise you, anyone who dares touch you must first step over the corpses of my entire Murong clan before they can draw a blade. My eyes grew hot. Truthfully, since my grandmother passed away, no one had ever protected me with such sincerity. I had transmigrated into the depths of the palace and saved the baby only to survive. Yet in return I received Murong Xiao and Murong Jing's desperate protection. It was more than I deserved. Outside the cold palace, the noise had died away at some point, replaced by a deathly silence. Consort Jing murmured softly, I wonder what the Empress's palace looks like now. Through the comments I already knew everything clearly. The Imperial Guards had found the infertility drug hidden in a secret drawer of the Empress's dressing table. Following the trail, they captured the palace maid who had administered it. With both witnesses and evidence complete, the Empress could not deny it. She could only clutch her belly, struggling in despair, trying to trade the non-existent child for a way out. But the Emperor had already gone nearly mad. He showed no mercy as she had hoped. He gripped the Empress tightly and ordered the imperial physicians to take her pulse again. The result, not pregnant. Just as I had said, her belly held nothing at all. It had all been fake. When the Emperor turned around once more, he no longer had any spirit left. In that short half-day, he seemed to have aged decades and no longer bothered to pretend. Consort Jing, Nanny Lu. We shall appoint your son as crown prince. The Emperor's eyes were filled with gloom. He could not accept that he had been rendered infertile, and worse, that a lowly nanny had seen through it. This nanny was his greatest humiliation. Consort Jing said nothing. She simply stood in front of me like a shield. The Emperor laughed coldly, snatched a sword from an imperial guard and advanced madly. Do you truly think we fear your Murong clan? So what if you have military power? Inside this imperial palace, we are heaven. He raised the sword and pointed it straight at us, the blade icy cold. Nanny Lu and the child, you may choose only one, otherwise everyone dies. I looked at the peacefully sleeping baby in my arms and sighed softly. Consort Jing, step aside. Protect your own son. Consort Jing remained motionless. Nanny Lu, don't be afraid. With me here, he cannot touch you. That calm certainty struck straight into the Emperor's heart. Again, the people of the Murong clan were always like this, as if they held absolute victory in their hands. Even with blades at their throats they never trembled. The entire court of civil and military officials praised the Murong clan for their integrity. The rise and fall of Great Chu all depended on their support. Yet no one remembered that he was the Emperor. He was the heaven of Great Chu. He roared and overturned tables and chairs inside the cold palace like a cornered beast, venting his helpless fury and madness. Imperial guards, slaughter these 3 for us. So what if we cannot father children? We can still adopt one. The Imperial Guards were about to advance when countless arrows sliced through the air and thudded into the ground right in front of them. Murong Xiao, fully armored and holding a long spear, flew in and landed, shielding Consort Jing. The spear tip pointed straight at the emperor's throat. Taizong once taught the imperial clan, if a ruler is devoid of benevolence and justice, he may be deposed. In that moment the ground trembled as wave after wave of armored soldiers with long spears surged forward. These were battle-hardened veterans who had bathed in blood on distant fields. Nothing like the pampered sons of the rich in the Imperial Guard. In the blink of an eye, the entire Imperial Guard was subdued. The emperor stood frozen in place. The sword in his hand clattered to the ground. Murong Xiao stepped in front of him and swung a fierce palm strike. The emperor's sword arm snapped instantly. Amid the miserable scream, Murong Xiao spoke coldly, daring to point a sword at my sister and at Nanny Lu. You deserve to be beaten. Half a month later, the emperor appointed Consort Jing's son as crown prince and temporarily handed over the reins of government. Since the crown prince was still young, Consort Jing acted as regent. The emperor cited poor health and retired to nurse his condition. Day and night he begged immortals and sought medicine, desperately trying to restore his manhood. Sadly, every pill he swallowed only made his body visibly weaker, and that particular function never returned. The empress was not deposed but placed under house arrest in her palace. All her attendants were dismissed, leaving only a few cleaning nannies, ostensibly to serve her, in reality to watch her. Whenever the emperor lost his mind, he would run to her palace to pick fights. The guards Consort Jing had instructed were ordered not to stop him, not to persuade him, and not to interfere. They simply stood by and watched the two of them brawl like dogs fighting over a bone. As for me, Consort Jing bestowed upon me the title of Commandery Princess and granted me my own mansion. I had barely moved in when the entire Murong clan descended. Cart after cart of gold, silver, pearls, and jewels were carried into my residence until the storehouses could barely hold them all. I stopped Murong Xiao. Are you people planning to die? Why are you dumping all your wealth on me? Murong Xiao answered as if it were the most natural thing in the world. My sister already said all her dowry belongs to you. This is only half of it. I was stunned. Just how rich is your family? The moving continued until midnight before the last of the dowry was finally transferred. Everyone else left, except Murong Xiao. Not only did he stay, he climbed straight onto my bed and lay down. I tried to chase him off. He refused and said he was protecting his sister. Who knows if the emperor will go mad and send assassins after her. It sounded reasonable, so I reluctantly let him stay. The moment I lay down I fell asleep, but after a while something felt wrong. Wait a minute. The emperor has already been placed under house arrest by you, hasn't he? That's right. Sleep if you want, but stop crowding me. Fine, then why are you holding my hand? Nanny, do you like touching my apps? The screen has gone black, bold. I already paid. What's wrong with a high-tier member like me watching? If the nanny can, so can I. But the commenter above already warned that the male lead will mince her into meat paste. Female lead, stop sweeping the courtyard and go home. Your chance is gone. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share Raccoon Tale to help more stories come to life. See you in the next tale.